Well, as you may have noticed from the title of this video, the nature of adventure has changed. It's been hiking and talking, and now it's going to be paddling and talking. So here's the deal. I had a trip planned where I was going to go home and visit family. But there's this great opportunity for adventure called the Wisconsin River. There's 90 miles of it from the Sauk City Dam all the way down to the Mississippi. Now, when I started hiking, I set a pretty big goal for myself of actually completing the trail. I realized that was ambitious, so I set a secondary goal of making it to Monarch Pass, a little shy of half the distance. But I also had the minimum acceptable goal of making it 100 miles. Well, I didn't make any of those goals. So when I set out to get on the Wisconsin River, I decided to, instead of setting goals, use the power of positive pessimism, which is to say, like, look, I'm going to give on whatever frickin' happens. And I don't paddle that much. It's going to be a lot of effort. My shoulders are kind of cranky. I got a screwed up elbow. You know, there's a really good chance I'm not going to make it that far. But here, as I go over the very, very noisy bridge, my rollerblades, woo, rollerblades. Here's what I like about the power of positive pessimism, is that you have lots and lots of room to have your expectations exceeded. And I like being pleasantly surprised so much better than constant disappointment. And although I've done a lot of really fun things this year, I have not hit any of the goals I've set for myself, and that's been quite discouraging. So let's head off to the river and see what happens. All right, I'm gonna try and paddle this piece of crap all the way down to the Mississippi River, 90 miles. Here's my brother Jeff, who left me off. And I'll be going that way. So here's my scenario. I have decided to take for boat. This is my floating postal tote. It's made out of this corrugated plastic stuff. You might have seen this in other videos. It says lake right on it. This is quite clearly a river. So far it hasn't exploded. The reason why I bought this boat is because this backpack that's sitting between my legs here, I can fold this up and put in this backpack, which means if I need to bail, I can just pick this whole thing and get out of here. Once again, my trusty solar charger is there. Other people in the outdoor industries tend to malign these things, but this will keep my phone and my camera charged indefinitely, which makes it really great. This is not my paddle. I borrowed this from my friend Troy, because when I picked it up, it's about like a third of the weight of my paddle, and I went like, well, I'm going to be pushing things by going really far, so maybe I should do that. In the back of the boat, let's see if I'm actually taking that. There's my blue backpack that, if you watch my hiking videos, I've taken with me the whole trip. I haven't taken any sort of hiking shoes, just my shoes with toes. The feet, I brought my same old feet. They're almost 65 years old, but you know, it's the only pair I had, so I'm bringing those feet. And otherwise, my jars of water. I will have to filter water out of the river, and there's so much green crap in here. I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to die of thirst, because I think my filter is going to clog up immediately. So I think when I do run out of my supply that I have, what I'm going to have to do is fill up my bottle and then have the sediment settle out, hopefully overnight, and then pour the cleaner stuff over the top and then run through my filter. If you notice, I'm not paddling, but you know, take a look at the shore. I'm kind of just zipping along, so there's many miles to go. Why use up energy if the world's going to provide me with, you know, a moderate hiking pace for doing nothing. Supposed to be a cold front coming through tomorrow. That might mean wind and colder temperatures. One of the forecasts says that there's going to be as much as 30-mile-an-hour winds. If that actually happens, I'll just have to stay in camp somewhere, because I will not be able to paddle in 30 mile an hour. However, We'll just have to see what happens. But, that's life in the age of climate change. Past data does not predict the future very well anymore. So we're going to get forecasts that are going to be like, meh, who knows? So I have to get back to sitting here like a lump and moving through the world with no effort, which is what I'm up to right now. Well, there's my boat. This is the first rest break. I'm on this sandbar island, and if you look over here, maybe, let's zoom in. Oh, there's Ferry's Bluff, a place that I've hung out. The deal is to make my goal of making it to the Mississippi, I need to do about 15 miles a day. The current of the Wisconsin River is slated to be somewhere between 1 and 5 miles an hour. Now, mind you, if the current just goes at 5 miles an hour, I just sit on my butt for 3 hours a day, and then I'm there. It took me over 2 hours to do this first 5-mile stretch. That means I'm kind of paddling 7 hours a day. If that's the case, I'm not going to make it. And I think the sooner I let go of it, the better off I'll be, because, it's a beautiful day. It's really great to be out here. It's fantastic. If I let go of the goal that I'm not going to make, that would be an easier thing to do than to continue to cling on to it. However, I might have just gotten to a wide part of the river where it was very little current, and therefore I had to paddle a lot. You see the bluffs start up here. Maybe the river narrows, and I'm closer to that 5-mile-an-hour current than the one probably that I was at for at least the last hour. Was quite slow. So yeah, who knows? I'll update you next time. In the meanwhile, there's the view. There's the river. There's my feet. There's my boat. There's my life preserver. There's Ferry's Bluff. I had many a moonlit teenage adventure on that place. Before it became a official park, used to be able to camp there. And so it brings back quite a bit of memories of things I've done, the people I was with there, all from a time very long ago. It occurs to me now that even though I was born and raised in Madison, I've now been out of Wisconsin longer than the time that I lived there. It was 30 years of living here in this area, but now it's been 35 years since I left. Oh, good little visit. The thing about a place like Ferry's Bluff is Wisconsin is a place of heavily wooded rolling hills, and to find an actual cliff face kind of brings out the whimsy in a human being. It's unique, it's otherworldly, because this is not a place where these things happen. Later on, when I moved to Colorado, of course, humongous cliffs and rocks and mountains everywhere. But here, this was a really kind of special place to be. And still a stunningly beautiful place to be, just on a small scale. And I think that's where you can kind of get snooty if you've gone to other places with great big terrain, is to remember that these smaller, subtler places still are possessed of extreme amount of aesthetic beauty. And we've got the ubiquitous turkey vulture. They're everywhere. And of course, incredible pilots and flying in these very, very light thermals on a no-wind day. And it may or may not be in frame. Who knows? There's a cult classic fantasy book called Silverlock. I think it's from the 40s, that then went out of print, but was revived by a number of science fiction writers who came across it and got it republished. At that point, I got a copy, and I would guess that it's probably out of print once again. But the gist of the story is a guy who's pretty much suicidal ends up on this foreign land after a shipwreck, traveling from adventure to adventure. And as you start paying attention, you realize, oh, that's Shakespeare, and that's Greek mythology, and that's a Norse myth, and that's Alice in Wonderland. And he's going, Robin Hood comes up. And then you realize the guy is traveling through, you know, the adventures of basically classical literature. But in one scene, they're traveling down a river, and one of the guys is saying, like, traveling in the river is the greatest thing in the world. And right now I'm feeling it because I'm kind of tired of paddling, but I am right now taking a break, but I'm moving. You know, there may be a conundrum here, and this big pile of crap is in my way while I'm trying to shoot my video. So maybe I actually have to steer. Okay, let's go into phone in the teeth mode. There we go. Phone in the dirt. Okay, I was interrupted there for a bit because I actually had to do something. But, you know, unlike hiking, like when I take a break, I sit there and I make no progress. But now I am not paddling and I'm sitting here and I can start to zone out and fall half asleep. And, you know, I'm moving. You're probably still at a hiking speed for doing absolutely nothing. And that is, you know, the most amazing thing about river travel. Is this helping me get to the Mississippi River? Probably need to paddle to make it, but here's the thing. If I take my breaks in the kayak and continue to head downstream, and then I start paddling again, maybe that's better than getting out and taking actual breaks where I get out of the boat. So I don't know. We'll find out. So my biggest concern about doing this big long trip in my little Twinkie floating postal tote was how comfortable the seat is, which is not much. But I did make this modification right here, which is to lift up my legs. There's nothing under my butt because that would raise my back and make my back less comfortable. This raises up under my legs. Also, if you look here, I drilled another set of holes up higher to put the seat, so I've got more back support, because really if you're over 5'2", this back support is way too low. But here's the thing that's really making it happening, is cramming my backpack in here means I can rest my back across the backpack, which means the top of this actually gives me support. Otherwise, you really don't get any support above, you know, the strap here. All this is just, I don't know, it's for show. It doesn't really do anything because it just bends right over. So with this going against the backpack, it's actually fairly comfortable. So once again, going that way. Not sure where the hell I am. I looked it up on Google Maps and it says you're on the river somewhere. It's like, thanks Google Maps. I figured that out because of this water stuff. Well, just about wrapping up day one. I wanted to make it to spring green, but if you look out here, you see that there's no spring green, there's no Highway 14 bridge. And you also notice the sun's getting close to the horizon at this point, so I think I'm hanging it up. I have to find some place over here that I actually want to go camping in. I already checked out one place and it's kind of slimy, but you know, one thing I got to say about this day is that it's just been absolutely gorgeous. I mean, no wind, beautiful, just kind of floating along. Paddled, you know, 7 hours. So it's not like I weenied it. And, you know, if that effort gets me to the Mississippi, then I'm going to the Mississippi. You know, if not, you know, whatever. So far, with the backpack to lean against, back has been fine, even though this is not the world's most comfortable kayak. And, my goofy elbow that I thought would take 3 days to heal, 5 months later, still being cranky, but it's not a super big deal. So, guys, keep your eye out here. I gotta go camp somewhere. I remember the sandbar islands being much more friendly on what I've found so far. But anyway, there I go. Going this way. Gonna see if there's any place to camp. All right, camp 1. I've made it some amount of distance, and see what tomorrow brings. Well, it's the morning of day 2. The cold front did come through last night, and it was blowing like crazy. Luckily, the way I was set up, all these trees over here block the wind from me. If you look on the water, there is some wind, and if we look at my boat, it's got a pretty high profile, so it doesn't do super well in wind, but I don't think it's going to be that bad, especially compared to the forecast that said gusts of 30 miles an hour. I have an advantage on the river being a paraglider pilot, and all those decades I've studied the weather, because I know if there's a cold front, that means the wind's got to come from the north. That's where all the cold air is. It's north of us, which means if I suck up against the north side of the river, it's relatively calm. I don't know if you can see up in the trees, but the wind's whipping. But if I hang out here, I'm in the calm. I can give my hands and elbows a break. You can see I'm making pretty good progress here, which is kind of cool. It also helps that at this particular juncture in the river, it's pretty narrow. There's a sandbar out over here, so it means the current's moving along pretty good. As you can see, I can still have to steer, which is almost impossible while taking this video. I need to not run into this log over here. So that's the end of this. All right, I missed that log. Might have a little time before I need to miss that log. But regardless of how serene and calm everything seems right now, and the nice pace with no effort, I've hit some windy spots that just turned me sideways and I could make no progress. I just had paddle for one of these areas, even though it was like way out of the way, just to get out of the wind. Miraculously, now that the wind is swirling around this island, I actually have a tailwind, which is pushing me along even faster. If this could keep this up for the next 3 days, that would be fantastic. So that's kind of the game that I'm playing, is stay out of the wind, find the narrowest parts of the river where the current is going to be the strongest, and stick with them and make as much progress as I can. Now, there's a few interesting parts of this trip that I haven't been able to video so far, and that is there's these great wading birds that take off majestically and flap down the way. That's great. They're not available when I have my camera out. There's turtles that like to hang out on these logs and then they go plop. That's pretty cool. And there's just tons of fish like jumping out. The problem is, unless you stick on the camera and have it going 24 hours a day, you miss all this stuff. So maybe I can catch some of these guys further ahead and actually show you that. A lot of these old trees sticking out of the water. This kind of makes me think of a sea otter. These little arms, maybe preening its whiskers. Gives the imagination something to do as you float down the river. And of course, because I'm filming, this means that I'm in a calm spot. The wind was just utterly blasting. It has to be blowing 20. And now, you see, this now looks nothing like a sea otter as I rotate around it. Wait, you have to make up a new creature. Maybe it's the snout of a sturgeon right there on the end. maybe. Well, there we are. Finally getting to the bridges. This is the first one, and then there's Highway 14, and then some other highway after that. Narrow stretch of the river. It's really shallow here. I just had to walk my boat to find some water that's deep enough to float in. So well, this is one milestone out of the way. Here I go under the Highway 14 bridge. You know, when I was a kid, I used to think where these bridge abutments hit the water were like a terrifying, scary place. And, you know, who knows why? I mean, you could make up some nonsense like, in a past life, I died or drowned by one of these things. But, you know, it's a thought I used to think. Seems silly now. And I guess it's gone away because I just went by there and I didn't feel any kind of, you know, primal terror. But I don't know. Anyway, Highway 14 bridge, like I said before, a milestone that tells me that I am actually still moving. Somewhere over there is one of my high school friends' houses, I think. And then this is one of these areas where there's like a lot of wind blowing, but it's kind of at my back at a cross, and so I'm actually getting a little bit of help. There's another highway bridge down here, I think a few miles away, that will give me an idea what my pacing is. It's strange after being in these remoter areas where you get the sound of the geese, the sound of the cranes, you get the plop of the turtles off the logs, the fish jumping, the wind in the trees, and then return to an area like this with traffic and trucks and noise. Just reminds you, regardless of how much you tend to get used to it, just how noisy cars are. And it's not really the engines, it's them moving through the air and the noise of the tires, just really loud. Which is, you know, another one of the benefits of just getting out in the boonies is experiencing quiet again. Okay, see that gust of wind? That's like blowing me sideways. Today's going to be the tough day. If I get decent mileage today I'll still be on track. But this is the cold front, has gone through, a lot of frickin' wind. And there's a bird. He's going like, oh my God, there's a human. All right, here's the other side of the equation. The river took a bend here, and now I'm gonna go straight into this wind, which unlike what I thought this morning, it is actually blowing in the high teens to 20 miles an hour. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see this when I get up there. I think the river bends more into the westerly direction, and I'll be able to hide along the north shore. But man, the next mile is going to be hard. All right, now I'm back to the good part. Here's what makes paddling hard on this river is, one is the river being really wide, because then it's shallow and slow. The other thing is the wind blowing directly down at you. And that's what just happened for last, oh God, it must have been close to 2 miles. And the thing was, the wind was blowing hard enough so that if I stopped paddling, I'd start going backwards. It's not like I could just stop paddling for a while and take a break and then just go slow. No, it was that I'd just start going backwards. So I was kind of, you know, the Bhutan death paddle there for well over an hour. Luckily, the river's taken this bend. It was going kind of this way, which is straight into the wind. Now, with it going that way, the wind is crossing. So if I stay by this shore bank, I'm for the most part out of the wind, and the current's reasonable. Not entirely. Like right now, the wind's starting to blow up again, and let's see, am I moving anymore? Nope, I guess not. Okay, so enough of that. Back to paddling. Well, here's my first portage. I gotta get my boat around that log. I could actually continue to go through the river over there, but that's dead into the blasting wind, where if I go around through here, I'll once again be on the lee side or the calm side, and I'm pretty wrecked from all this paddling into 20-mile-an-hour headwind, so I gotta find my little spots. So here we go. All righty, portage complete. Time to head down that way. Well, this is where I'm officially ending day 2. This is a little tributary between the shore and a sandbar that I'm going to camp on. The main chunk of the river over here at this point has white caps on it, and I thought, like, I gotta at least take a break and maybe hang it up for the day. You know, the thing is, if I wear myself out too much, then I'll be good for nothing the next couple of days, which are supposed to be much calmer once this cold front gets out of here, which means I keep going. But if I just thrash myself today, then, you know, maybe I have to call it quits. So why fight 20-mile-an-hour headwinds when better weather is coming relatively soon? And you know, on top of it, kind of leaving goals aside, this is a gorgeous little sandbar, which I'll have all to myself to hang out with. And the big clue that I should end the day is when I did say, okay, let's beach it, and I'm just stumbling tired after hours of paddling against big winds. Then I went like, oh, okay, yeah, you're shot. You're more shot than you think you are in the heat of the moment. So let's call it quits. There's my little camp. Nice light kayak. I can pull it up out of the way and be inconspicuous. A word like that, if I could actually pronounce it. And pretty cool day. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully these winds will die down after the whole river softening me up on that first day, which was gorgeous. You know, no wind day. Absolutely idyllic. Hopefully these creatures with these paw prints are okay with me staying here. But let's get out here and take a little look. I think if you look out this way, yeah, the sun's kind of blotching everything out, but believe me, you know, I'm out of the wind because it's coming from this direction. But when you're out there, there's little white caps slapping around, and even, you know, look at this current. It's moving fast, and if I stop paddling, the wind pushes me backward. So it's camping time.